Good afternoon, everybody. Josh Ruiz back here for the MVP cast. I have a fabulous guest today, Mr. John Hollier. I'm actually a little bit envious, John, because I can imitate accents, but yours is just so natural with that English, properness that you have. It's incredible, and I love it. I want to introduce John. He is the business mechanic. His philosophy is think, plan, execute, and he helps small business and entrepreneurs get their clarity, structure, and results down. And go ahead, John, tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Well, think, plan, execute, which is the name of the business. I think of that as the business life cycle that all businesses go through. And it's applicable both in the longer term when you're talking about long-term objectives and how do you achieve those. But it's also applicable in the shorter term in terms of what are you going to be doing in the next 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days. Depending on the maturity of the business, the focus that you should have, the time frame focus that you should have is different. So, but I apply that think, plan, execute, think being, okay, let's get clarity about what you need to do. And let's be clear about that. Structure plan is about putting structure in place so that you know what you want to be doing. It will change. And then the results, execute is about the results and staying involved to actually implement the plans that we put together. A lot of coaches will help you put together plans, but then they walk away and it's up to you to get them done. I like to stay involved with clients and actually help them implement things. So, for example, a recent client, I went in to help improve his compliance arrangements in a highly regulated business. I actually ended up writing the compliance program and putting the checks in place and helping implement the compliance systems that we agreed that they needed. So he didn't do that. I did that. It's kind of like an employee extension at that point, and that's what I like to do that I think differentiates myself from a lot of business consultants and business coaches. It's the fact that I will, I'll take my hat off, I'll sit down, I'll sit at the computer, and I'll actually get things done for you. So.
Okay. Well, I like how you kind of differentiated a little bit, but can you break down that just a little bit further, John, on how you differentiate the consultant versus the coaching side?
So if you're a consultant, you have to coach as a consultant. There's always a certain amount of coaching. It's like being a manager in a corporation. There's always a certain amount of leadership and stuff that you have to do, but there's your own work that you have to do as well. And to me, the consulting piece is about making things happen and getting things done, whereas a lot of the coaching is really about getting you to think about what you want to do and getting you to do it, and maybe keeping you accountable, but it's not actually about doing it. I think one of the analogies I can use is I have a process called strategic visualization. You can, I can give you a workbook and you can do it on your own. Okay. That's me kind of like remote coaching you.
Right.
If you don't want to do it on your own and you want me to help you through it, I'll coach you through the process, but you're going to do all the work and you're going to do all the exercises and do all the writing, etc. Or, and I haven't done this since COVID, but I'll come on site for 2 days and I will lead the process and I will take all the notes and I'll write up all of the piece. So that's consulting, where I'm actually in there working with you versus helping you decide what you want to do. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody about this morning, and I was saying, as a consultant, you need to be able to coach, but as a coach, you don't really need to do any consulting. So coaches, in my definition of it, and I'm sure other people have other definitions, in my definition of it, a coach doesn't actually get involved in doing any of the work.
Yeah.
So they're not
doing the consulting piece of it. Yeah. And I have a question on that, John, because I'm either you confuse me or I just don't really agree with the point of that, of saying, I mean, to be a coach, you should also have the ability to consult. Is that not the case?
I
I
would
mean, how
agree
can
with
you
you.
coach somebody if you can't do the work yourself?
I would agree with you that that is preferable.
Right.
But
I mean,
I think,
it's like this, right? If a doctor is certified to be a doctor, right? That they're essentially a coach on medicine, on health, right? I mean, are you going to go to somebody who's not able to practice that?
well, see, a doctor to me is a consultant and not a coach. Because if a doctor was a coach, they would say, well, you have to do this to take your pulse, and you have to do this to listen to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so what did you hear, Josh? What did it sound like? And then it'll be like, what do you think that means? That's a
Mm-hmm.
coach. Whereas a doctor is going to do all the work themselves and make the decisions and then tell you what they think it needs to be done. And it's maybe not as important a distinction for somebody who's not in the coaching and consulting world, but it's just something that over
Yeah.
time I've used as something to try to differentiate myself from other people in the marketplace. It's
Yeah.
I'm not just coaching you, I'm actually in there working with you through the different steps of think, plan, execute.
Right. Well, I mean, technically, I mean, I could be considered a consultant in the insurance space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we advocate for folks and their health and what policy best suits them.
Right. And you stay involved in certain things that you do for your clients beyond that, right? I mean, after you've
Yeah.
got your clients up and running, so you're very much a consultant in that respect. If you were
Right.
just saying, okay, John, you need XYZ kind of insurance. His places to go look, take a look at them. Oh yeah, that one means this one means that. Choose which one you want to do, and then did you pick one? Did you buy one? That
Mm-hmm.
to me, it would be coaching you, not consulting with you. Okay. But you getting in there and actually understanding what the person needs and saying, okay, these are the different options. This is why you should choose this one. And oh, by the way, staying involved with them after they buy so that you're helping them with whatever issues they have with it. That to me is much more consulting than coaching.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you now. So would you would consider yourself more of a consultant, right, than a coach?
So if you'd asked me the question a year ago, I would have said yes. However, in 2019, I came off a 3.5-year contract. And I was in the process during that time. Yes, I was bad. I didn't do any marketing and sales work during that 3.5 years, or the latter part of that 3.5 years. So I came into January of 2020, and it was like, okay, I need to kick the sales and marketing thing off, which is why I reconnected with my good friend Rook and some of the stuff that he's doing. And then COVID hit. And I was like, well, I really can't do some of the face-to-face consulting, which was a big piece of my business. And I started to think about, okay, how do I, as I think we all were, how do I pivot this to be something that I can do more remotely? And as I thought about that, I also thought about where I am in my life. I'm going to be 65 in a couple of months. Yeah, I've got a bunch of time to work after that. I have no plans to retire. But what do I want to do? Do I want to do another 2 or 3 year contract with somebody where I'm working in effect, working in a job for them for 2 or 3 years? Or do I want to do something different? And really what it came out to probably about 6 months ago, I really came to the final decision that said, I want to get a lot more of this knowledge out of my head in a way that people like yourself and other entrepreneurs and small business owners can utilize it in smaller chunks. And that requires that to be more coaching than consulting, because a lot of the things I'm going to give you are workbooks, workshops, things for you to do yourself. And
Yeah.
yes, I'll be there to add to that. So I would say that in terms of the way I look at myself, I've gone from saying I do 75% consulting and 30% and 25% coaching to
Mhm.
the exact opposite in terms of what the direction that I now am going in at this point. And
I see.
that's where my focus is right now, is to create more and more um, intellectual property assets that I can sell, such as coaching. It's actually the program, I'm putting the programs up on coachwares.com, which tells you what kind of programs they are. They're coaching programs. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, we started off this by saying, you know, I'm a consultant, I'm not a coach, but I'm moving more towards the coaching side of it because it gives me more flexibility.
Yeah.
I don't
It-
want to be, we talked about options trading earlier.
mhm.
I want to be able to trade options when I want to be able to trade options. When I was on that
Right.
3-year contract, especially for the 2.5 years that I was running the business after the owner got sick, um, I
Hey,
wasn't
John,
trading
can we
options.
pause for a second? I hate to
Sure,
have to do this, but I got to pause for a second.
no
Okay.
problem.
All right, we're back. Sorry for the interruption there. Thank you for being with us. We were just breaking down John's model here on the hybrid consultant versus coach. So, John, you elaborated a little bit on taking your knowledge, and putting it on a platform like Coachwares. And for everybody who doesn't know, Coachwares is a marketplace for all things coach, right?
Yep.
Is that fairly put?
Yeah, it's a marketplace for consultants and coaches to sell their services and products and webinars and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And you're on there, John, and your course is specifically around your business mechanics and strategies. Is that right?
Yeah, so I've got basically two things up there right now. One is what I call strategic visualization, which is more about helping people, especially people who are in that real startup mode, who maybe haven't run a business before, don't have a lot of corporate management, business management experience, and helping them work through all the things that they need to think about beyond just their product and who they're going to sell it to. Because while those are very important, there are other pieces to it in terms of what am I going to do with the business? What do I need to do with the business? The other piece I have up there, and that this is strategic visualization I can use for people who are going off with a new product, going off into a new market, so that there's that piece of it too. So it's kind of like a strategic planning light is the way I call it. It's not one of these onerous strategic planning processes that focuses on things that I personally think are a waste of time in most small businesses. So the other thing is I have something that I call business algebra, or I didn't call it, Root called it business algebra. And business algebra is very much down in more in the planning stage of what are you going to get done in the next 30, 60, 90, 120, 240 days. And it's really about getting you focused on what are you going to deliver in that time frame? How are you going to measure that? What assets, what resources do you need to get that done? And understanding all of the numbers that make that up, and all of the things that you need to do to make sure that it's feasible and reasonable that you can actually get that done. And the goal is to get you to be doing it as efficiently, effectively as possible, but to give you that idea of where you're going and when you want to get there, so that you can measure it and you can measure your progress. And then when things don't go right, because things won't go right, because I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't think you do either. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes, but except finishing this call.
Well, I don't know. That might be a little extreme, John. I mean, I know what my plan is the next 20
You know what your
minutes and
plan is, but you don't
next
know
week.
what's going to happen. So
Well, isn't that
thing
on
is, I want you to
executing
have,
the plan?
the thing is, I want you to have things that you can measure against. One of those is a plan, so that if something does go wrong, you know how to manage it. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what the impact of that is, and you can look at it from the point of view and say, okay, that happened. What do I need to change? Can I change this? Can I change that? So that you've got that. It's not just a, oh my God, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I want to get you out of that mindset of just accepting what happens every day in your business, which I think a lot of people, when they start in their businesses, they're very much in that mindset of, oh, I just deal with whatever comes up every day, and trying to get you out of that. If you're going to grow your business, you need to have a little bit more discipline about what you're doing and how you're doing things.
I love the way you put that, John. I was just having the same conversation with our last guest, Henry Grover. He's a financial peace coach, certified with Dave Ramsey, our good buddy there. You know that. Right. We won't dive down that path, but for the purpose of this commentary, I was mentioning, the discipline, right? There's two key things that I think people got to focus in on, to be in business and to excel in life. And that's attitude and discipline. Okay. And when you implement those two things and you do it on a daily basis, like your subconscious mind allows you to breathe nonstop, right? Yep. You create practice that elevates you, right? And takes you to the next level. And I find it all too often that people, they're great at crafts and they're great at specific things, but business is a whole nother animal, right?
Yeah.
And that's where great people like yourself come in that can kind of, you have the years of experience, the knowledge, and the backing to kind of coach people and give them, those stepping stones of where they need to go and lay it out, right? I think all that information is great, right? I mean, I'm a big fan of it. I'm a personal user of it. But at the end of the day, right, if you ain't got the right attitude and you don't implement the discipline of doing it, it's kind of good for nothing, right?
Yeah,
because I have a journal that I do every single day, John. I mean, there are days that I've missed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect, but I've been doing a journal the last 5 years. And since I've done a journal, my productivity, my income, and my spiritual well-being has increased 100 times.
Right. Because one of the things that attitude and discipline, if you put those two things together, what you've got is a commitment, and you've got a commitment towards whatever those goals are and things are that you're trying to achieve. And, our good buddy Rook says this all the time. And it's like, people have these lofty goals, but they don't want to, they don't want to make the commitment to actually making it happen. I mean,
a goal is nothing unless you're going to do it.
We met a lot of people who, they'll talk about all these wonderful things that they want to do, the 300,000 people, community, conscious community. So how many was that? 300 million? Was that what you were going
300 million, John, 300 million.
Sorry,
Here, I'll give you a great analogy.
About downsizing your goal there.
yeah. Let's turn it up. I'm looking to see here. I had a a quote on that theory, what you were just talking about with dreams. I think it comes back to too many people have big dreams, right? And there's nothing wrong with having big dreams. I mean, I personally,
you've got to have them.
I go beyond the moon when it comes to that kind of stuff. But, I implement strategies and I write down, I visualize, that what it takes, right? Dr. Stephen Covey put it great in his book. He said to begin with the end in mind, right? This kind of comes from that engineer side of folks that are minded like that, because they know they can take a big picture, right, of what we're looking to do, and then reverse engineer the steps needed to get to the end result, right? That's behind the line, begin with the end in mind.
That's exactly.
And I've implemented that, the last 3 years. And like I said, I mean, it's been instrumental for me. And I recommend it to everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's what one of the things, I didn't say this, somebody else did, but it was like, so you've got a product, John. You've got a product.
On here, we claim the shit, right? This is the MVP cast. You're the MVP of the day, so it's yours.
Yeah. So you've got a product that has a broad market reach, potentially. But you can't necessarily sell it that way right away. Right. So the question is, if you got a sales guy sitting over here, where are you going to send him? Where's the first place you're going to send him? Who are the first people you're going to have him talk to? Okay, which is the market niche you're going to go after first to get that foothold? Is it local? Do you go local, regional, national, international? So it's, as you said, it's taking that end goal in mind and then breaking it down into what are the major phases that I need to do to get there, and then being able to, within each of those things, say, okay, this is how I'm going to get there. I want to do 1,000 podcasts, interviews on podcasts. That's one of your interim goals. That's not your long-term goal, but that's an interim goal that you have. And you even broke it down further for me when we were talking earlier, because you said you wanted to do what, 20 a month?
Well, I mean, in order to do 1,000, John, I mean, we got to be doing upwards of 125 a month.
125 a month. Okay.
So to get it done this year, I want to do 1,000 by the end of 2021.
Okay. So, but you've broken it down, and so now you've got something you can measure against. Now, like when you get to the end of March, you're going to say, how many did I do? Okay. I wanted to do 125. I did 90. Why did I only do 90? What do I need to change? Is it getting people to come on the, am I focused elsewhere? I always like to call it, am I moving deck chairs on the Titanic? It's like all the little things that we do that take us away from the big issue that's facing us. Yeah.
Right.
So it's, the other thing I like to get people to focus on is, going back to this idea that you can sell this product to anybody. It's which is going to get you there the fastest with the mostest. Okay. So if that's a kind of triangle of which one's going to give me the largest financial benefit, and that's usually in net profit, with the least amount of input in terms of resources, whether that's my time or money or other people, in the shortest period of time. So that's what's fastest with the mostest is about. And it's like, okay, if you've got 2 or 3 things that you could do first, which one are you going to focus on? Okay. It's focused on getting you there the fastest with the mostest.
I like the way you put that. Is that the line you were talking about somebody else gave you?
No. The thing somebody else gave me was, okay, you want to, the world's your market. You got a sales guy over here. Where are you going to send him first? That was what he used to say when people would say, the world, the world is my market. He would okay, that's fine, but where are you going to sell to first? So
everybody is your market, really, right? I mean, and that's where, coming back to that consciousness club, John, if you break it down, on Earth, we have a population of about 7 billion. In the United States, we got almost 400 million.
Yeah.
So, and being international, 300 million is kind of a dent, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not big, right? And that's what I was always going by. Again, the power of the numbers. If you get 1,000 people and each person goes after 1,000 people, we're at 1 million. That million hits another million, right? Now we're at 100 million. Right. And it just multiplies in big increments. So, hey, let's shift gears a little bit real quick. I want to go into some questions. What would you say is your mission as an entrepreneur? I mean, aside from coaching, what do you want to reach out to the audience? Is there a niche that you like working with as far as entrepreneurs, John, or where's that?
I have tended to migrate towards service industries, and I've done a lot of work with people in the health and wellness field. I tend to work very well with people who recognize that they are creative and recognize that they're maybe not as business oriented, or they don't have that kind of business knowledge. It's kind of like I like to be the yin to the yang kind of thing in terms of what they're trying to do with their business. So I actually find myself working with a lot of female entrepreneurs as well.
Nice.
What it is, but it's just it's just happened that way. I think partly because they're more willing to listen.
I think women are great, John. I personally do it. I wasn't so sure. We didn't have our gender revealed for our baby, so
Uh-huh.
it was truly a surprise.
Right.
And I was a little apprehensive about it being a girl, but like after the fact, I was like, I've been ecstatic, of course, right?
Yeah.
I'm a daddy,
Yeah.
but I am gonna leverage that to like the nth degree. I've already got a business established, and we're going to create. I've already called it E Squared. That's Emmy's Enterprise, and she's going to have one, and it's going to be giant.
That's great.
Sure,
That's great. Yeah. So,
women. So
but
that's what I'm going
it,
for. Women in power. I
right.
think that men have missed the ball in history of putting women up on the pedestal,
Mhm.
just being the driving force behind it, right? I mean,
So,
some say every great man has an even incredible woman behind them, right? Why not put the woman in front of you?
so you talk about my mission. My mission really is to help identify what you need to do with your business and to teach you how to fix the issues in your business so that you can do it yourself. Okay.
Right,
Um,
right.
I want I want to create a I want to create somebody who can learn what I know and use that and implement it themselves and become a successful entrepreneur, successful business owner with that. So to me, that's my mission, which is why I spend so much time talking to people about what they're doing in their business and what the issues are that they're having in their business. I mean, I've been accused of giving away too much for free. But I like to do that. That's what I like to do. I like to,
You're a giver, John. I mean, let's be
well,
real here, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
we appreciate that, and that's part of being part of this community, and my mission, and why we call this show the MVP is all about the mission, vision, and pathway to
Mhm.
get to success. And we want to build a community of great people like yourself, that can help and support, and we can all have community growth, right?
Right.
We can all go up. I think that there should be, I know there's always going to be probably a separation between the wealth and the bottom class, but
Mhm.
I think that there can be some closure in the middle
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, definitely.
And I want to be part of that change with great people like yourself. So I
Right.
appreciate your time being on the show and everything. What is there anything that you can kind of attribute of your shift? Because you definitely had a shift point from um,
From
the
the in-person
contract work that
consulting.
you were
Yeah.
doing to kind of more independent and just restructure and everything. I know you mentioned stocks, so the question comes back to what is one thing that kind of accelerated your earnings through this COVID, whatever you want to call it, time. The purpose of the question really, John, is to highlight that the dream is not dead, right? The
Mhm.
opportunity is not dead, and people that aren't making it or struggling out there, it's because they're lazy, right?
Right.
And they don't want to get up and put in the action, right? They don't want to do the work.
Yeah. So
Dreams are great, but with no plan and no activity behind them, they are useless. They are
yeah.
nothing more than fugazis, right? It's an invisible thing.
So I think that
Did you
the,
forget the
the the
question? I kind of rambled a little bit
no,
there.
it's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
The progression for me from really January of last year was the first thing was, okay, go out there, kick the networking back up, start doing some more marketing. And actually I had at the beginning of March, I had 3 potential leads that I was working with that I was like this close to giving the sales proposal to. And we went into lockdown and all 3 of them went, I don't want to do that right now. Okay.
Mm,
Um, and at the same time, while I was doing that, I was also getting back into, on a more regular basis, doing the options trading. Because as I said, while I was working full time running this business for this guy who was out sick,
uh,
I let that slip. So I was getting back into that and getting back on that course. Um, and really, since June, I said, okay, this is my daily process. This is what I'm going to do. So, I look at things for, 30, 45 minutes in the morning at 8:30, see what's going on. I make some decisions. I've got times that I check in to see what's happening on the market. And apart from that, I've got alerts and stuff like that I sometimes see and have to dive into. But unless I'm actually trying to get into a position or get out of a position, I'm not focused on it. But I realized I wanted to have the flexibility to be able to turn away from this conversation and go do that when I need to. Okay.
And when you say options trading, you're talking about just like what, stocks?
So options are a way of leveraging the trading direction of a stock. There are call options and put options, and they have expiration dates, but basically they're contracts to buy or sell. One contract is usually 100 shares of the underlying stock. So I could probably, what do I have up? I have GameStop up on my screen right now. So GameStop is trading for around $260. I just put in an order to buy what's called an option spread, where I buy one option and sell the other for $3.80. So I'm leveraging, and I did 5 contracts, so that's like 500 shares underneath. There's no way I could do, or no way I would do 500 shares of GameStop at $260 a share, but I'll do this options trade.
Why not, John? I mean, that's serious trading right there, right?
Yeah.
So you said 500 stocks at 264.
So
132 grand. Come on. I mean, it's not $1 million, right? What's 150?
But I realized that I wanted to continue to do that I enjoyed doing it. And I wanted to be in control of my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think that's one of those things that's like, it's a solo thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. It is and it isn't. I mean, I'm in a chat room and all that kind of stuff. So.
But you don't have to be, is my point, right?
Right. I don't have to be. And
that's optional.
The thing is, and I think I've heard you talk to other people about this, it's one of the things about being in business for yourself is the ability to turn around and say, this is what I want my calendar to be.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This is where I want to spend time on this. This is what and if I turn around and I say, every Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to go play golf. I'm not going to, but if I wanted to do that, I want to have that flexibility to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was just pushing me, and then just the need to be able to do things more remotely, and the need to be able to give me the flexibility on the calendar to have things that were smaller things that I could sell, more bite-sized things that I could sell. That's why over the last 12 months, I've migrated into this situation. Now, I will tell you right now, I have made very little money in the consulting and coaching world in the last 12 months.
It's been on the trade side, right?
But but it's kind of like when you invest in doing something differently in your business, you're investing it. So the money or the resources to do that has to come from somewhere. Right. I'm fortunate enough that I've got the money coming in from the trading side to be able to turn around and say, I didn't need to take any consulting business during that time frame because I was focused on where do I want the business to go next. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's one of the things that I always look at people and they say they want to do X, Y, and Z with their business. And it's like, okay, especially a startup, it's like, okay, where's the money coming from until you get to that point?
Right.
How are you going to get paid? How are you going to pay your bills during that time period? And I'm fortunate enough that between my pensions and my stock trading, I'm able to turn around and say, hey, I'm not spending a lot of money right now. I'm locked up in my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can afford to basically step back, reevaluate everything, and not worry about the fact that I haven't sold a 12-month consulting contract.
Right.
So
yeah, well, you're investing your time, and I think you bring up a great point, John. You're investing your time in that sector of transitioning your business, and in the meantime you have cash flow on your trades thing,
Right.
and that keeps you going. And a lot of times people, they want to go after more than they can handle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell them, focus in. I always tell my agents, you got to focus in on one sector, right? One
Yeah.
line of product, dial it in, and then tier yourself up. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And in the power of sales and numbers, and in business, which all business revolves around sales, right? The ultimate thing is driving revenue. Without that, nothing exists, right? And you gotta tier it up, right? You're not gonna come out of the gate with 100 mil.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start somewhere, and you work your way up. So I appreciate that. Victoria and I had a little different, I think it was her, maybe it was Rook, on the whole, being in business yourself. Essentially, you're able to buy time, right? I was actually having this conversation with my wife because, there was a difference of time, and she's like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, that's money. And she's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe in your world it's not, but in mine, we can't just have 4 hours stagnant unless we're being productive, or unless we know it's F off hour, right?
Right.
I mean, there has to be intentionality behind it,
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I'm not one of those. I don't think that I'm too obsessive in that freaky way that like I'm constantly at it. But I mean, for the most part, we got to be productive. That's one thing that being in business for myself a second go around has really helped me is master that discipline. I had a hot dog cart years ago, John. When I first moved to Tampa, I went to culinary school, and I had this guy I was in school with, and he pitched me this hot dog dream, right? And these guys out of New York, right? I mean, they go down the street. I mean, they were making some serious jack.
Oh yeah.
A cart can do 100, 200 grand in sales a year.
Yep. Cash.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, man, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
And so I went 120% in. I got a bunch of information. I was going to build a cart. I researched that. I decided not to. Then I found somebody who was building them. He was a good price. We worked it out, how to make brand new, right. And I failed on that because, well, it goes back to, I had the idea, like I can cook, right? I can make the greatest hot dog ever, but the business aspect behind it and exactly how you put it, right? The think, plan, execute was there. It was non-existent.
But that's it. That's where a lot of business people who are going into business, especially for the first time, they fail because it's all about, so cooking, restaurants, hot dog carts. It's all about cooking this. It's like, no, that's in terms of, if I'm making a car, that's the production line.
Right.
The business is so much bigger than that. There are so many more aspects to it. And, the strategic visualization process is really about getting people to think about the whole business and think about it holistically, rather than just what product am I selling and who am I selling it to.
Exactly.
I'm not a marketing and sales guy, which is why, I partner with people like Root to take care of those things. But I always say to people, look, if you want to talk about your business and you want to talk about anything other than marketing or sales, come talk to me about it. Because whether it's internal processes, whether it's, finances, whether it's people, leadership, whatever it is that is about how do I operate this business, not how do I sell product. That is where that's my sweet spot. That's where I come in and really help people.
Yeah. And I think, I think that really just teaching people a basic understanding of business and money, that should be something that is taught, in high school. Right?
Oh yeah.
You
should come out of high school being able to read a P&L, a profit and loss statement.
Yeah.
You should absolutely. You should understand the different options that you have in terms of financing and where money comes from for businesses. So
absolutely.
There's a lot of things that I'm going to piss a lot of people off probably with this, but I think ending high school at 2:00 in the afternoon so that you can do school sports is very much a detriment to the kids who are there. Okay, because I think that time I'm not saying kids shouldn't be able to go off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to do school sports, but the other kids, if they want to learn business, if they want to learn that should be part of what's available to them. When I was in my final 2 years of high school, it was up to us what we did on Wednesday afternoons, which was the sports time. If we could actually petition to go and do something else that was more academic, if we wanted to. And I think that's
maybe that's a market we can go after, John. What do you think? We'll put together a course specifically for high school students in that transitional period. Maybe they're looking at college and they want to learn about business and money and just basic knowledge.
That's a good idea, because that basically what that does is that takes my knowledge base and just focuses on a different marketplace. So that wouldn't be too difficult to actually start putting that together.
Yeah. Well, you said it's the yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to focus on the processes. I'll handle the sales and marketing of it.
Yep. It's funny because I was talking to somebody else about doing something in a joint way, and I love the idea. Your previous guest, Rev Deb Bishop. Rev is about, she's got this consciousness thing, and I'm like, conscious business, real business, marry those things together into a single, offering. And she and I have actually had conversations about it, and we will continue to have conversations about it. But I love those opportunities and the opportunity to talk about that stuff. So
yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thank you, John. Thank you again for being on here. The business mechanic. John breaks down the think, plan, execute of being in business for yourself. And who knows, maybe John and I just created another brainchild, if you will, out of this episode.
I'm getting off here. I'm putting it in my new business development list in ClickUp, and where I keep all my stuff. So
do you got a running tally of ideas?
I whenever I get an idea like this, I use ClickUp to keep track of everything that I'm doing. And one of the sections is new business ideas. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Or product and service development. Sorry about the bell there. That was the stock market closing.
Oh, damn, it's 4 o'clock.
I told you I have alerts set up.
Yeah.
So, hey, Josh, it's been great being on here. I'm glad that we have connected through our world dominating connection. And
yeah,
I was able to come and give you
how can the people connect with you, John?
So, my website is very easy. It's thinkplanexecute.com. If you go there, browse it, there's a big blue button in the top right-hand corner. It says book time.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And that's the easiest way to get hold of me. Or my Facebook page is Think Plan Execute. So go there and interact with me there as well. I'm not a big social media guy. I probably need to be more of a social media guy, but those are the two best ways to get hold of me. If you want to check out the things that I've put on CoachWiz, the entry-level offerings I put on coachwiz.com, go to coachwiz.com and go to the Think Plan Execute store on coachwiz.com. And that's the other place to see what I have out there as offerings.
That's fantastic. Well, there you go. You guys have it from the man himself. Think, plan, execute. It doesn't get more simple than that. John, thank you again for being our MVP guest today. We greatly appreciate it. You guys go check out John. And for those of you who are new in business, stay tuned. There will probably be something that comes out of this episode if you don't know. And check out our previous episode with Rev Deb. 300 million people were forming a consciousness club. There you go. You had it from me, your host, Josh Ruiz. Thanks again for checking us out, and we'll see you next time on the next episode. Peace out.